Hello, thanks for tuning in to the last installment of this project. In the last two videos, I took the engine apart so I could service it. And then in the second video, I took the oil pan off by taking off all the suspension and then the oil pan itself. Off camera, I ended up doing the timing job. I'm not an expert on that, so I was not going to try to bullshit the video and show you how to do that when I'm really not all that qualified for that. If you want to see that, I'd recommend going to 50s Kid on YouTube. He's got some great how-to videos and really details on how exactly to remove this and install it correctly. I have all my hoses now and pipes. This is the one I was waiting on. And then I finally have a new DESA valve for this, the proper size, so it'll go into the intake and work properly. And then once more, we have the CCV system that we're going to be replacing. All the pulleys, the water pump, the thermostat, we got the belts, the rest of the hoses, some gaskets for the intake and the valve cover, some new plugs, and then the reservoir and the little thermostat for the transmission. I'm going to start working on the intake manifold. This is the hardest part of the job, removing that, where you're working it, and then installing it again. We're going to need new gaskets on there. And then the CCV system, that always is prone to go bad and create vacuum leaks. We're going to tackle that today and put a new one on before we install the intake manifold again. So the whole CCV system revolves around this guy right here. This is the drain to the oil pump, the oil pan. We need to get this off. First, I'm going to have to take a bunch of different little things off first. We're going to wait to put this on last. Once it's in the car, it's just kind of difficult to maneuver with when you're installing the intake. This hose right down here is really nasty to get at. It's kind of hard to see the camera because it's already zoomed pretty hard. But this will have to use a screwdriver to pop it and pry it off. But the easiest way to start is to go from the top first. And we're going to start with that. I'm going to pull this piece off first, as well as this one, then work my way on the bottom. This piece will generally get in the way of working or installing the intake manifold. So I'm also going to wait on putting this one back. Alright, so this piece is off. Those clips end up breaking quite frequently. I'm not too concerned about it because I will be replacing that completely. So that hose feeds into the back side of here. Right here. And the last piece you got to get out is this guy with some Torx on it. There you go. So then this right here begins to get brittle. Those connectors will break on the other pieces here that connect to these. And then because the people don't replace the oil will actually start to degrade that rubber, and that's where you get all those massive leaks. So if you look inside here, it's going to be really hard to tell, but there's a little bit of gunk and stuff in there because it is just starting to eat the plastic away. Alright, so we'll start with the new CCV. This new one has a little nipple here that needs to be capped off. The old one has the cap. So make sure you pull that off first before you throw this out. And then this is going to simply go in like it was installed. Now I have all four hoses here. We're not going to install 3 of them because they're easier to put on in the car. So this is going to be the drain to the dipstick. This uses that same style connector, flexes like that. This connects to the dipstick and to the bottom of the CCV system. We're going to wait on this one. We're also going to wait on this one, the first one I touched. This is easiest to put in when the intake is back on. And then the same for this one here with the foam on it. We're going to wait on this because it makes it a lot easier to install the intake manifold bolts before this is on. So just have to worry about this last piece here, and then we're all set to go. That just snaps in place. With force, yep, double clicked. this hose will go down in here onto the CCV, and she's in. That's the clip connected. You can replace this gasket if you'd like. This one's actually in pretty good condition. I don't ever encounter intake leak with reusing this. So I'm going to recommend replacing it, but I'm not going to. Alright, so now we're pretty much back to the whole assembly ready to go. When we go to install this back into the car, this is the bracket that I talked about in the first video. You have a 16 or 17 that holds this. It's really difficult to get to, and it's even harder to show on camera. I end up running an extension all the way from here on the side of it up almost into the shock mount, and you have to run a long extension and just kind of feed that on there. So I'm going to move this back to the car. Do want to point out one more time that you want to worry about the fuel line. Fuel line's going to run through here. There's going to be a couple wires that's going to clip over here. And then you have normally the drain, the CCV drain, this one right here. We're going to wait on that. Well, I'm actually going to put that on the dipstick first, and then we'll clip it in once this is all completely installed. And then there's going to be also the power wire that fits between the 5th and 6th runner. Now one of the black pipes has still a little bit of its nipple inside the head. I'm going to have to pull that out before we can continue. Looks like it's all out. I'm going to put some Siliglide on the seals on this. I'm going to put the valve cover gasket on first. See how much more pliable these are than the last ones. Now we're going to take our new rubber grommets for our valve cover. We're going to place the washer and them together and then put the bolt or nut into it like that. Alright, not too bad. This is definitely an OEM BMW plug. Pull it out of here. Oh, it is the NGK version, so this has been replaced before, which is good. I'm gonna use some NGK V-powers. These do not have the floor electrodes like the stock ones, but I've used these many times over on 10 to 20 different BMWs. Never had a problem with these. put this nut on that bracket down there. These are the little clips on the fuel rail. They you normally have to pry them off with the screwdriver each way around it so that it loosens up and kind of comes off so you can free the whole fuel rail harness. I'm gonna go ahead and just snap them back on. This is a lot easier without that PC or that CCV system having that hose that goes around here. Go like this. Alright, so I must have made a mistake and not hit record, but I replaced this hose as well. Let me get out of here real quick. So I replaced this hose here and fitted it down to the bottom down here. There's a little strap here that I tried to reuse, a zip tie. All we have left now is to secure the oil filter housing, then the power steering pump, and then followed by put all the intake stuff back on. I do need to secure this right here, as well as finish connecting everything on that side. Then on this end, we need to put the recirculation pump back in, the EGR valve, and then once that's all done, we can start putting all the accessories back on, as well as the partial self and all the covers.